Hiking's a bitch! Can you imagine just walking under the hot sun in the middle of nowhere every day for fun? Can you imagine, like, doing that while also reviewing Japanese cartoons or something like that? It'd be ridiculous. Anyways, today I'm going to tell you about one of the greatest men in internet history. Okay, I'm gonna feed you a pill that's kinda hard to swallow here. Everybody who has ever made videos about anime is a dork. Alright, that's kinda harsh. Let me rephrase that. Call me a hypocrite, but I've never been too keen on the whole AniTube scene. From the brief windows into the community that I've witnessed, it appears that a lot of individuals are trapped in a cycle of trying to fit the image that all the big boys have built their channels upon. And the results usually range from mediocre to, I wanna fucking die. And that's not to say the junk I make is any different. As a matter of fact, I think almost every video I've put out is fairly shitty, but that's besides the point. This problem isn't exclusive to people making videos about how flavor of the month garbage teaches you the meaning of life. It extends to the entirety of YouTube. Everything's imitative, derivative, and never feels like anything more than a teenager's half-assed attempt at self-expression masking true intentions of profiting off of a subculture. Nobody gives a damn anymore. But then again, did they ever give a damn?
Hello, my name is Sorty00, and I'm posting this video response to answer some questions about the end of Evangelion.
I'm a cynical, bitter man. But even so, there are a few things that revive my childlike sense of joy as much as revisiting what remains of old YouTube. Yeah, I'm gonna reminisce for a minute, bear with me. Videos produced for YouTube between 2005 and about 2010 are a rare specimen of ingenuity and sincerity that only comes once in a lifetime. I've spoken before about how much I admire the simplicity of the first generation of YouTube users, but I don't think I've made it clear enough how important the early era of this website was to my development. Innumerable hours of my adolescence were spent watching Forrest Whaley, James Rolfe, Jeremy Thorne, Make Me Bad 35 I guess, and God knows how many other unnamed faces with access to 240p cameras. Everything about the material posted to this site, no matter how undeniably shitty the quality was, overflowed with pure passionate energy. But as new genres of content creation began to emerge, so too did the advent of media reviews. Say what you will about Doug Walker, you cannot deny him as influential. Maybe even more than the angry video game nerd, because while not everyone has the patience or technical skills to produce a game review, any Joe Schmo can record themselves talking about some dumb movie they watched and how they felt about it. It was the perfect formula. Some people did a pretty good job at it, and some people fucking ruined their lives doing it. It was one of the most exciting times to own a computer. You never knew what kind of video was going to pop up on the homepage or what new people you'd be introduced to through the magic of your monitor. And then, on August 21st, 2007, an old man wandering in the middle of the desert uploaded himself to YouTube. And all he wanted to do was talk about anime.
Good morning, I'm out near Bumblebee, Arizona, and those are the Bradshaw Mountains in the background. So while I'm out here catching my breath, I thought I'd introduce a mini-review of an anime series I'd recently watched, Shingu, Secret of the Interstellar Wars.
Grumpy Jiisan is an elderly man, one whose exact age we do not know, who posted videos of himself hiking through the Arizona wilderness while talking about various anime he enjoyed.
Futaware Rumono is a fantasy anime from AD Vision. Its title is unpronounceable, and I'm not even going to try again.
Conceptually, it is both brilliantly simplistic and outrageously bizarre all at once. This was not an impulsive attempt by an old man to play around with a fancy new website. Between 2007 and 2011, Grumpy Jiisan uploaded at least 248 videos, averaging about 5 videos a month, And these weren't short 1-minute recommendations either. These were well-crafted, thoughtful, eloquently spoken reviews for a wide variety of titles. Jiisan covered anything and everything, from Bubblegum Crisis OVAs to the Halo Legends anime from 2010. He was an anomaly to everyone who first discovered him, and for good reason. Anime reviews in the late 2000s usually consisted of young, adolescent dudes in their suburban bedrooms or college dorms talking into their webcam about which girl from Haruhi they wanted to put their penises inside of. All of a sudden, here's a guy old enough to be your granddad talking about ergo proxy. And he's doing it in the middle of nowhere.
It's set out in the desert in the middle of nowhere. What kind of a lame location is that for a video?
However, once you got over the initial amusement over the concept of, it's an old man talking about anime. Hello, I wonder if he's seen Boku no Pico. Yeah. You quickly realize that not only did Jiisan have a far more interesting presentation than everyone else, but he also knew his shit way more than anyone else on the scene. Even the kids today who get all their recommendations from 3x3s couldn't match up to how much knowledge Jiisan had when it came to Asian animation.
And if you're looking for some Yuri action, well, there's plenty of kissing going on. It's part of their pre-flight checklist.
But I'll hold off on the gushing for now. What did the average Grumpy Jiisan review consist of exactly? Well, he typically followed the Siskel and Ebert review format, where one half of the video consists of a brief plot synopsis, followed by Jiisan detailing what he liked and disliked, before concluding with a patented rating between 0 and 5 stars. And let me tell you, Jiisan was an incredibly generous man. After sitting through each and every video available on his channel, I can report that not once in all 248 of his reviews does Jiisan ever score a show anywhere below 2 stars.
I give this series just 2 stars? Really, what were they thinking?
What the fuck were they thinking?
Even when it's obvious that he absolutely hates the show he's reviewing, he always defaults to a basic 2-star rating. He just held that much respect for the art of animation. Even when the story and characters of an anime sucked royal ass, the fact that a team of people actually bothered making the damn thing at least justified a star or 2 in his eyes. However, don't mistake that kindness for weakness. Jiisan could drop some truly devastating one-liners when the mood struck him, and there is no form of psychological torture in existence that compares to a kind-hearted old man's verbal wrath.
I just took an instant dislike to everyone I met in the first episode. It saved a lot of time. I get more worked up when I'm playing bowling on my Wii. If these chicks are looking for mates, I'm sure thousands of male anime fans have already volunteered. Look, it's raining cute girls.
Jiisan was not the first old-timer to experiment with the wonderful new avenue of entertainment known as YouTube, but he was certainly the first old person to make a name for himself in YouTube's still niche anime community. However, despite his legendary status, his channel never actually achieved a noteworthy level of success, not in comparison to other giants of the time period. Why is that? This is one of the most fascinating channels on the internet, how come his numbers are so low? Well, Jiisan never placed as much care into marketing himself as much as he did with his reviews. Every thumbnail is just his pixelated face over and over again. Although back in the day only YouTube partners were allowed to use custom thumbnails, so that's not really his fault. More than that though, he had an odd habit of never actually indicating which anime he was reviewing. All of his video titles consist of puns or riddles that only hint towards the subject of that video. For example, if he uploaded a video talking about the film Angel's Egg, he would title it, Grumpy Jiisan Scrambles Some Eggs. Yeah, I can understand why that might not entice people into giving a click. Probably thought it was just an old guy cooking his breakfast. Outside of the titles though, Jiisan was incredibly professional when it came to his presentation. As you've probably noticed, every video takes place in a different part of Arizona, usually within the desert, but also in mountains, forests, nature trails, or maybe even an oasis. Every video would open up with Jiisan talking about the geographic location he was filming at, and honestly, sometimes his brief introductions feel like the best part of the review.
Morning! This is the Bighorn Mountain Wilderness area. That's the sun coming up over Bighorn Mountain behind me. Morning! This is Pine Mountain. Yeah, trees for a change. Good afternoon. It's a cloudy day up here in Arizona's Red Rock country. Good morning. This is called Montezuma's Castle. Good morning. This is called the Devil's Bridge, and it'd be a heck of a place for a sword fight.
Not only did he give you some random fun facts about the Arizona landscape, but he always listed quick notes on the location in the description in case you feel like taking a hike yourself. Below that, he'd always link to his WordPress, where you'd find transcripts for every single one of his reviews, which is some really impressive dedication. The WordPress site is no longer available, but you can find archives of it on the Wayback Machine if you feel like you'd rather read a blog post instead of listening to Jiisan's soothing, crisp as an autumn leaf voice.
Princess Tutu combines a shoujo magical girl format with European fairy tales and classical music to create an anime series that's unique. It positively drips cute, so if you're allergic to cute, grab your antihistamines.
I know it's cliché to describe someone as the Bob Ross of something. I mean, Bob Ross himself is irreplaceable, let's not kid around. But I really can't think of a more apt description for Jiisan. Everything about his style is so comforting to watch and listen to. I have legitimately fallen asleep a few times listening to his reviews, and I rate it 10 out of 10. Coziest sleep of my life. Except for when he yells, that gave me nightmares.
What happens if I do kill him? If I pull this trigger?
Shoot the gun!
The actual quality of Jiisan's videos were obviously not fantastic. He never upgraded his camera, and his audio, oh god.
All that, plus stalkers, gang warfare, a missing girl, and a few other surprises keep this show very busy, especially in the early going.
I'm no audiophile, so I can't sufficiently summarize everything wrong with Grumpy Jiisan's sound, but he seems to be suffering from the classic issue with plosives. What's a plosive? It's when your microphone is shit and all your bilabials sound extremely pronounced. All your P's are gonna sound like
You know, I got plenty pussy and putty.
I won't rag on Jiisan for adamantly refusing to improve his equipment. At this point I find it to be a large part of the charm, reminiscent of the age where quality didn't even matter on YouTube. But once you start noticing how damn pronounced every S in Jiisan's sentences are, whew.
I also like the fact that any chance for success here takes a lot of hard work and patience. And mostly I like the fact that this story constantly defied my expectations.
Ultimately, Jiisan's greatest gift was his perfect blending of well-crafted criticism with that classic dry humor that only an old person can truly master. Even when his jokes aren't actually that funny, I can't help but bust a gut laughing because of how earnest his effort is. I love them.
I never knew comic book conventions were such great places to pick up chicks. I mean, it's got Nazis, giant robots, and aliens. What else could you want in an action story? It's true, by the way, we do have a secret society. Thanks for listening.
Because today's title was A Tree of Palm, here's a shot of an actual palm tree.
I also really think it's worth commending how broad Jiisan's tastes were. It didn't matter if he was reviewing Berserk or Princess Tutu. He approached every series he looked at with equal respect and admiration and never behaved as if one was inferior due to its subject matter. And in case you still doubt this man's legitimacy, one of his favorite shows of all time was Aria. Now that is the mark of an enlightened individual. By the way, any of you that ever asked why I never made a video about Aria, it's because there is nothing I could say about the show that could outclass Grumpy Jiisan's words of wisdom.
And so, I'm giving the third series, The Origination, 5 stars. I can't entirely explain why. Partly because it made us laugh, it made us cry, it made us happy. But mostly because when we were done watching it, I was really sad that there weren't any more DVDs left in the box. Then I cheered up when I realized I could start over at the beginning again.
Jiisan shared his affection for anime for over 3 years, garnering attention from viewers young and old who delighted in his sagacious monologues and welcoming appearance. Not once in his entire career did he explain why exactly he was doing what he was doing, nor did he give any indication for how long he intended to do it. It seemed as if Jiisan would go on preaching to the people about anime for the rest of his blessed, healthy life. Then, on May 19th, 2011, Grumpy Jiisan uploaded a video reviewing the Ghibli film Ocean Waves. He rated it 4 stars, observed some Native American carvings on nearby rocks, thanked everyone for listening, and then never uploaded anything ever again. What the fuck happened?
2 characters in Innocence will quote Buddha that one should walk alone, committing few sins and with few wishes, like an elephant in a forest.
There was no forewarning, no goodbye. Jiisan just vanished off the face of the internet without a trace. Okay, let's jump to the obvious conclusion here. Maybe he just died. I mean, that's all old people can do, right? Leech off their kids and then die without putting them in the will? Maybe he got eaten by a black bear, I don't know, what happens. The only semblance of an official notice is in the form of Grumpy Jiisan's Twitter bio, which simply reads, retired. Yes, I'm 99% sure this Twitter account belongs to him. It goes back far enough and seems too accurate to be a random impersonator. Well, okay. He retired. End of story. Well, if you expected the internet to settle for a one-word Twitter bio, then think again. People immediately began digging up any info on Jiisan's identity and whereabouts that they could. Unfortunately, without a name, the search was going to be a pain in the ass, and probably wouldn't go anywhere considering how private Jiisan was about his personal life. However, over the course of a few years, some information began to trickle through the cracks, and one particular name continued to surface. Bruce Carlson.
Crazy Bruce's Liquors, we've got the bargains for you. Woo, woo, woo.
In a review for Aria posted to his website, writer Jason Huff directly name-drops his friend and fellow reviewer, Bruce Carlson, aka Grumpy Jiisan. Oh shit. There you go, we have a name. Don't know if it's real or not, but it's something. Well, all this revelation would lead to was the uncovering of Jiisan's mysterious past.
About 25 years ago, a friend and I used this trail to climb out of that canyon after 3 days and nights with no water. We learned a lot on that, but every now and then you want to come back and revisit something that was a little sad.
Eventually, some information surfaced on the existence of an old anime community known as the Phoenix Japanimation Society. The PJS was a club formed in 1984 that operated out of Arizona, obviously. The group was highly active in early fan-subbing efforts and made multiple contributions to the localization and distribution of anime in the Southwest at a time when the closest thing most Americans could access was Robotech. The PJS would meet at founder Tom Perry's house to share videos, watch imported laserdiscs, and whatever the hell else early otaku in the 80s did for fun. Maybe some Quaaludes, I don't know, I wasn't there. Bruce Carlson, as you've likely guessed, was a member of the PJS and had a major hand in doing translations of his own. William Cho, famous for founding the translation group Arctic Animation, actually kept in touch with Carlson all the way up through the 90s as the two swapped tapes back and forth while subtitling and apparently fan-dubbing in their spare time. Cho even credits Carlson on his homepage as the creator of a Macintosh subtitling program called Panimator. The reason I'm repeating all this research is because it tells us that Grumpy Jiisan wasn't just some random old guy that got interested in anime on a whim. He was actively involved in importing and translating multiple titles for Western audiences all the way back when anime was as underground as a post-punk indie band. Classic shows like Rose of Versailles and Legend of the Galactic Heroes were first introduced to Americans because of Bruce's homemade tapes. This was a pure passion project for Bruce. His love for anime was the real deal, and it wasn't something he planned on keeping to himself.
Okay, これからお前をいいところへ連れてってやろう。
どこへ？
毎日が文化祭をやっているようなところだ。
On the discussion forum oldschoolotaku.com, a poster named Greg wrote in 2012 about how in the early 90s he would frequently attend get-togethers in Arizona for anime fans of all ages. The host for these get-togethers was a member of the anime archive BBS who went by the name of Cactus Subtitling, but his real name was, like you don't already know, Bruce Carlson. According to Greg, he had a massive collection of imported laserdiscs, created fan subtitles on his Macintosh, and was ostensibly a super friendly guy, always eager to recommend series to people looking for stuff outside the mainstream. Then, one day out of the blue, Bruce suddenly disappeared. He became reclusive, stopped hosting meetings, and reportedly ceased fansubbing altogether. People still shared his tapes and watched his translations, but the man himself was never heard from again. Now, this is all coming from mixed sources, and I can't confirm anything they're saying is fact. But if it all proves to be true, Jiisan may have had a history of disappearing without a word. He appeared one day to offer his knowledge of anime to the world and unexpectedly slipped away, and then years later he'd do it all again through the outlet of YouTube. Did he simply get bored with his projects and decide to cut off all communication to protect his privacy? All we can do is speculate. There are dozens of crackpot theories out there about his disappearance, and personally I don't take much stock with any of them. I did happen to notice that in one of his final reviews, he mentions that he was recently told to throw out a bunch of boxes of old junk, which poses a few questions.
Actually, that dub was why I decided to talk about that movie now. I was told to throw out a lot of old boxes of alleged junk, and I found the old import PAL VHS release of it.
Did he have a wife or family member tell him to stop watching Chinese cartoons and sell his collection for bingo money? I don't think that would have forced him into quitting. Like I said, all we have is speculation. However, on January 8th, 2014, something new popped up. On the otaku culture board found on 4chan, a long post appeared from a man named Jonathan Wayne who claimed that his grandfather, Grumpy Jiisan himself, had recently died. Jonathan said that severe arthritis was what prevented Jiisan from posting to YouTube, but that even during periods of hospitalization he continued to view all the latest anime and spoke excitedly about creating new content in the future. Unfortunately, his condition never improved, and on January 4th, 2014, Jiisan passed away from organ failure. Jonathan goes on to say some good words on Jiisan's behalf, stating that his grandfather understood the younger generations well, and felt as much love for the anime community as anime itself. However, he felt disturbed by the fragmentation of the community over tastes, waifu wars, and other trivial nonsense, and believed that in the end, we should all feel united through our unanimous love of anime. It's a thoughtful, even inspirational message, but I don't think I can bring myself to believe it.
This one was invented by a writer.
Firstly, this post refers to Jiisan as Bruce Wayne, and I think we've established well enough by now that his surname is likely Carlson. Then again, the name could just be an alias to preserve Jonathan's own identity, not too sure. However, the post also notes that Jiisan was 89 years old when he died, and that I just can't accept. We all know Jiisan was a spry and healthy guy. He had to be after all that hiking. But I refuse to believe he was hiking across vast stretches of the hot as hell Arizona desert in his 80s. But on that subject, how old is Grumpy Jiisan anyway? He never stated his exact age anywhere online, but he did leave a few clues to give us a range.
Disaffective youth are nothing new. My generation had James Dean and Holden Caulfield, the latter in a book my parents in school wouldn't let me read, which of course guaranteed I read it.
Most of Jiisan's clues indicate that he was likely born between the mid-1930s and the early 1940s, just before the baby boom. There is one especially interesting hint that I managed to stumble upon. If you scroll through his Twitter, you'll find a tweet from 2009 saying that his Wii determined his Wii Fit age as 74, a result that apparently made him depressed. Now, there are two ways to interpret this. Either he's actually quite younger than 74 and feels embarrassed about people assuming he's older, or he's actually much older and is sad because he only wishes he could be 74 again. I honestly have no idea which interpretation is correct. If we're going by the former though, Jiisan was likely in his late 60s when he began posting videos, and by 2014 was only in his mid-70s. He sure as shit wasn't almost 90. This post reeks of hoax, but I have no way of knowing it isn't. It did get his first name correct, which at that point in time was still largely unknown, so...
Usually you can spot a spring by all the green stuff, but all I see is sand and dead things.
Fake post or not, it's been 12 years since Jiisan was last public online. Although it pains me to say it, he really is most likely gone by now. There's no obituary or anything like that available, not to my knowledge at least. So if he is dead, then I suppose his family doesn't plan on broadcasting it to the world. Still though, a small part of my optimistic half is really clinging to the hope that somewhere out there, Bruce is alive and kicking, still keeping up with all the latest anime and wondering like the rest of us if the industry is really as doomed as the cynics would have us believe. I wonder what he'd think of Berserk 2016. Did he ever get to see more overrated Shinkai movies? Do you think he liked interspecies reviewers? He was always very open-minded. He probably loved it.
I can think of two reasons why you might like this anime. you may just be into cute furry girls.
Dead or alive, we should focus less on Grumpy Jiisan's eventual fate and concentrate on what he had to say. How much love and passion he held for his hobby to the point of dedicating the last years of his life to spreading that love with thousands of people. Why do you think people make videos about their interests? To profit? To assert their opinions? To feel better about themselves? Jiisan did it for no other reason than that he simply adored anime. Even the objectively terrible shows. He loved all of it, and he wanted everyone else to share that love. There may never be another person on the internet that reaches the level of purity and unadulterated sincerity that Jiisan thrived off of. If more people can learn to be like him and reject this culture of irony we've embraced. Oh, isn't this shit so cringe? Anime is garbage, am I right? Wow, I'm such a weeb. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out the Patreon if you love what I'm doing. Then maybe, and that's a strong maybe, we can restore a site like YouTube to its former glory, before being ashamed of your passion became a requirement to enjoy it. I think at the end of the day, that's all Jiisan would have wanted from us. Maybe one day we'll learn what eventually became of him, but for now, let's just be grateful he bothered to appear before us at all. As long as his words continue to resonate with generations young and old, Grumpy Jiisan will never be just a memory of some old guy on top of a mountain.
And all the way to Mount Kendrick and then Mount Williams. That'd be Bear Mountain out there, where I'm pretty sure I recorded a video where I actually mentioned seeing wood shoot from there. So, thanks for listening.